Welcome to Disneylovinfam. Today we are going to make some firework inspired Mickey ears. We're going to start with the headband first, and we're going to start hot gluing the felt onto the headband. Remove the excess, then we'll do the hot glue all the way down, and you will probably want to snip it there, so then that way, because it is curved, you don't want it to bunch. Since one sheet of felt is not long enough to cover the headband, we'll do two smaller ends on the headband here, so we'll do this. And you really can't tell the difference, the fact that it didn't have a full piece, because we're going to cover it with sequins anyways, so it really doesn't matter. You're going to want to snip the ends here, so then that way, again, it doesn't bunch and create more excess than needed, so just kind of whatever amount you need to snip off in order to get it to flatten after you've glued it, then that'll work. That's what it'll look like once you've gotten all the hot glue on for the felt. Now the next step is going to be gluing these sequins onto the headband. Now a little trick, if you maybe snipped a little bit too much off and it didn't fully cover the felt, then you can just grab a few little pieces of scrap of the sequins and you can just hot glue it in, and you really can't tell the difference. Our sequin headband is now done and it looks great. Next is the ears. We need to trace around the template of the ears, and then you will flip that same piece over to the other side, so then that way it kind of gets a mirror image of the other ear, and then we'll get that cut out. Next is the batting. We are going to cut around the ears themselves. You'll see I double layered it, and then now we'll cut out the pieces of material, and if there's a little design in it that you want, like the Mickey ear firework that you see there, then you'll want to make sure that you get that just right when you cut out. and it doesn't matter that you have excess because you'll just cut the excess off later. You're gonna hot glue and you're just gonna pull tight and keep pulling tight all the way around. And then you'll just snip off the excess because you don't want too much excess bulging, because you want the ears to lay flat when they get hot glued together. This is probably the hardest part. It's the lighting. I take the one end to the other end of where the lights are, and then I do it in half, so then that way I know kind of where to start and stop. And then, so you're gonna start, and that's probably the tricky part. You wanna make sure that you start on the bottom and work your way up to the top, and you wanna really either work from right to left or left to right. So you gotta pick which one, but you wanna work from the bottom to the top, and so then the other ear is gonna be from the top to the bottom, so then that way it flows through correctly. Now I did do pins when I did this because I felt like it kind of helped the light stay in place, and I took these little strips then and I hot glued it down, because then that way it kept the lights in place when I glued the two pieces together. We're gonna look at gluing, and you want the lights to be kind of pulled to the one side, so then that way when you cover that crease, that you can still see the lights. Now we're going to make some wings. That's why I call them Mickey wings, I guess, because I put it in the middle, in between, before I glued the two pieces together, because that's what I'm going to use to kind of help make it more solid when I glue onto the actual headband too, instead of just gluing the ears. I just didn't think that that was very secure, and I didn't want it falling off. Now that they're together, we'll use the trim, and if the trim is too wide, then you'll just cut it to make it adjust to fit perfectly to cover the seam. Now we're going to glue them onto the headband, and you'll want to pull through that cord, so then that way it covers up and you don't just have this cord hanging around. And then we're going to wrap the lighting piece around, and then we're going to glue down those wings, and then I'm going to put a little strip right there of hot glue to even bond it that much more, so it makes it pretty solid. Cut off the excess part, do the same thing on the other side, and then you'll do the same thing on the bottom piece. And again, I'll do the extra little bit in between just to make it that much more solid. Now, checking the lights. Now we're going to put that in place. We're going to cover that with another piece of sequin material, so then that way it doesn't stick out. We're going to glue that in place then, and you want to make sure that you have access still to the little switch, and that it's not really challenging to get to the switch still. So wrap that around and glue that, cut the excess off. Look at that, the light's perfect. Now the bow time. Press that together and seal that bow. Looks beautiful. And then we're going to just take a little piece of scrap and we're going to tie it in the middle to create that scrunch look to get that bow effect. And just cut off the excess part. Now we're gonna do the piece that actually goes around, like the trim if you will, to make it all nice and neat. So we're just gonna do this, one on one side, fold it over, and then the other side, and then it just makes it look nice and neat. And we're gonna use that to wrap around the bow to tie and glue to the headband. And there they are, all done. We're going to turn on the lights, check them out. Looks great. Thanks for watching. Click that like button and subscribe.